and welcome to It's FanBox, the Daredevil Born Again uh, talk show, whatever we want to call it, the after episode show. I guess I could do better at introducing that, but that's perfectly fine. We are back again this week with episode 3, The Hollow of His Hand. And yeah, let's get into the emotional damage. But before we do that, just I want to remind you, if you are not already, you need to check out itsfanbox.com. We are trying to build a platform that is not the normal news site. It's more focused on providing, insight reviews, all those kind of normal things, but then we're really focusing on these type of shows. And obviously we're going to have more to come, so you need to stay tuned. But on top of that, you can check our YouTube channel. You can find us on social media as It's FanBox. But before we go any further, let's go ahead and go clockwise through the team, and we'll start with Sarah. Introduce yourself and tell us where you can find you.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm at Movies and Tea across all social platforms.
Okay, I'm Juan Reads Comics, and I do just that. I read comics, and I'm Juan Reads Comics on all social media platforms.
Now I'm going to stop the normal flow here. Juan, you're on like a mission right now for reading comics, aren't you?
I am. I'm trying to read 2,000 comic books in 2025.
That is awesome. What number are you at right now?
I'm at,
as of March, what is this? March 15th.
I'm at 441.
Nice.
Good pace.
Pretty good.
All right. And then Shay?
Oh, sorry. I don't know why I thought it was
Snake.
This is what hit Sarah last week, so you're good.
Yeah, it's gonna happen to I almost did. I was like, and I was like, wait, I'm in the same spot that Sarah was in last week. Let me.
In my mind, I legit thought I was gonna go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then for some reason. Hey guys, I am Shay Jones. You can find me at A Spoonful of Shay across all social media platforms.
Hey, my name is David. I am Xanatos1138 on all socials.
Hi, I'm Tony Ann, and I am Scarlet Bruja on TikTok, and then the Scarlet Bruja on Instagram. So just add a "the" in front of it if it's not under Scarlet Bruja.
Yep. And you can find me and David as well on the TARDIS Talk episode or show next. Was it tomorrow? Actually,
Tomorrow
at 2:00 Eastern, 11 Pacific
Next
time.
tomorrow.
Next tomorrow, yeah. Yeah. No, listen, like words don't work in right now. I'm just getting over COVID, so forgive me if the brain fog is still happening. Literally, I was sick with COVID with the last show. Didn't get diagnosed until the next day before TARDIS Talk, and then we still did TARDIS Talk. So it's been an interesting week. But we are here to talk about, basically it's the trial of Hector Ayala, White Tiger, which had some great moments and had some really bad moments. So let's go ahead and get initial thoughts. Let's go to the opposite direction. So Tony Ann, we're going to start with you.
Well, I cried like the whole episode. When he started talking about Puerto Rico, I like lost it in the beginning. I was like, no, this is not good. But it's funny because I was just talking to my friend and I was like, I'm so excited to see what happens with the White Tiger. I should not have said anything, but just more emotional damage, but it was very beautifully done, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm much the same. I thought it was a really good episode. I was kind of initially like, why is the entire episode a court case? But it all was very interesting. It all made sense. I loved the reveal at the end that wasn't like quite what people think, I think. And overall, also RIP to the actor for White Tiger because he died, I think shortly after. But it was a great episode.
I really liked it too. I like the end. I was just the end. I was just like questions and concerns because did Fisk call you, or did you just already was lurking? Was my initial question after it happened. But also, if it wasn't Fisk and you did this on your own, I need to know your reasoning. So maybe we'll get more of that as we continue. I'm a nerd who likes procedurals and court cases and shows like that are I love them. And it was just interesting when I'm a prosecutor, I forgot what that meant, like his title. The district attorney, there it is. And then he said, why would a hero hide? I got multiple reasons. Like, what kind? I don't. What do you mean? Like, when you say that, what? And it was something because he said it like it was a got you moment. But like, there are many good reasons why somebody would hide if they are doing heroic things, because of things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I loved it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great episode. Leading up to the third episode, it kind of like slowed down a little bit, which we kind of needed for what happened in the first two episodes, kind of breathe a little bit, and so we could kind of mourn what's happening. But I really loved. I was waiting for that like Law and Order sound to come on, dun dun, during the proceedings and stuff. But like, man, the Puerto Rican stuff and the Boricua and the Coqui and like all that stuff, man, just really hit home. Really made me think about my mom and the island. I haven't been to the island in forever, and then when you hear that song, por una palabra, ese todo, I was like, oh no, yeah.
Yep.
So really loved how it kind of was kind of monotone a little bit, but it's Daredevil being in this church pretty much.
Yeah, I really, really loved the episode as well. I thought there was like a lot of symbolism between like Daredevil defending a vigilante and like symbolically defending himself. So there was a lot of that. I also liked the Puerto Rican culture as well. I mean, it's very ingrained, especially like in New York culture. So I'm glad that it was brought up in the way that it was. It was very subtle, but it was really powerful, clearly. And yeah, I mean, I really liked the episode. Really sad with the ending though.
One of the things that I thought about with this episode was how there was a little bit of touches of what I really enjoyed with She-Hulk, with the procedural part of it, and we got that with this, and we got to see the case. Although it happened really fast, these cases never go this quickly. There's a couple things that really like jumped out to me when they were giving the role of police officers that they were talking about. One of them like really struck my ear when they said Morales. I'm sitting there, and Juan, you mentioned the birds. Was it the Coqui birds?
Goki, yeah.
The frog. It's
a
a
frog.
Oh, it's a frog. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you hear that at the end of the episode, like there's no music at the end. It's just that sound, and you're sitting there going, and you're feeling your feels. They did a really good job. Yeah, they did a really good job of drawing you into those things. And even if you aren't from the culture, you don't relate, they gave you a little bit of an insight that it meant something at the end. And I really enjoyed that. I do think there was some really great moments. The misdirect with trying to get the witness on the stand, I thought that was done really well. The moment when Matt is crossing the police officer, and he says, I hear you have a black eye. He's like, I've heard the cure to that is fast hands. And I'm sitting there going, it's like the little jabs with Matt, and a lot of people think, well, that's just a mock. Well, no, Matt's a boxer. Matt knows that's his background, and there were just a lot of little things that kind of built up to it being a better episode than I initially thought when I was first watching it, because I was like, this was really quick. But then you see that ending, and they really take you from like, oh, this is nothing, to, oh my God, what just happened? And that's the power, I think, of like Daredevil's world with Hell's Kitchen and everything else, is just that you can't take a breath, and they make that very clear. Oh, look. So let's just say this real quick. Travis is saying hello to Juan. And listen, if you are watching and you have thoughts about the show, please be sure to jump in. We're not going to always be saying something. Like, there are times for we can like talk about your comments, or if you have questions. But let's just go and talk about the police presence. Now, I get it. One of their own is killed, and they're maybe fed wrong information, but at the same time, they're a very intimidating force in that courtroom. With I mean, we saw what they did to their one witness, the confidential informant. I am a little surprised because we're seeing the police. I didn't see it as much in, let's say, the original Netflix Daredevil series. We just thought that the police maybe were just not very competent and not really getting work done. We're seeing more of the corruption side in this show.
hmm
Any thoughts?
I mean, the police are the oldest gang in history. What more can I say than that? Like,
Yeah. I feel like it was very realistic. Like they show up for their own. So them in the courtroom, they would definitely act something like that. I don't know about as far as witnesses go. I've only seen that on SVU and other Law and Order shows, but they are ride or die type people in that career. So I
hold the
thought it
blue
was a
line.
good addition. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was cool that they split it almost like 25-75, and it kind of like resembles the police force. Like 75%, you could say like bad apples. But then you have like 25% who were kind of like defending White Tiger and vigilantism. And you're like, okay, you know, if Matt can get on the page with these guys, which is what happened in the original Netflix series, is that he was on the same page as one police officer, and that police officer really like stood behind him. And I'm like thinking to myself, well, he has to get a couple of these, you know, cops on his side, because it's not going to work out unless that happens because of like the presence that, you know, cops have just in the world in general. So that's kind of my mentality. But I definitely thought, you know, corruption was very prominent and it was very realistic.
You know, you notice when he pulled that White Tiger suit out, there's a couple of the cops that kind of just lost that stoicism. They're just kind of like second guessing their opinion. And it's like, okay, we know who the good cops are. We also know when they were talking about a witness and a confidential informant that you have cops that are just like, you know, this person can never get to the stand. And there's that whisper that, of course, Matt's eagle ears can hear. But it was definitely interesting. Let's see here.
Can I point out something though?
Yeah.
So, like during when he says that, like, and he leans, the Punisher tattoo on his neck, and I'm like,
Yes.
okay, so is this our sign when it comes to the cops within the show that these are the corrupted ones who are believing they are doing, like they are on the right side, like the Punisher's on the right side. Obviously, still not having a clear understanding of what the Punisher actually does. One, and
or what he
stands
thinks
for.
about them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think they just look at the Punisher like surface level and they're like,
Mhm.
yeah, he fights for us, so he's our symbol. But little did they know Frank Castle is not on your side at all.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mhm.
It
So I
plays
think it
in,
does show the corruption in them
yeah.
because, like, why would you get that tattooed?
Yeah, it plays on that that you see those Punisher like stickers on back of big 4x4 trucks, and it has a blue line on it, and it kind of plays into that because they think that, and someone already touched on it, they think that that symbol means that what they're doing, because it first was used in like some like secret army whatever, and they use the skull because it scares people. But I love that. I love that they used it, and they kind of had like a little flag on it, so it's not really distinct to Punisher, because if you know who Punisher is and he was running rampant in New York, you know he's not really on your side. So I don't know. It's like they're just trying to implement in that with their force, but I don't know. I really love the symbolism of that.
My favorite bit of that was when someone was passing by and you see the big Punisher logo graffitied. It says "triggered" across the top of it. I'm like, yes, that is exactly what's going on here.
Yeah. It's funny. I almost feel like Marvel is taking opportunity with this, because there had been in the last couple of years, Marvel considering kind of rebranding Punisher because of the Back to Blue and all the other stuff, because it was never what it was meant to be, and it's becoming this social commentary on, you know, police officers and police force and stuff. And so I feel like Marvel's taking an opportunity in this show to be like, yeah, you know, people are using these, but we're going to tell you what we really think about it once John Bernthal's character decides to come out and bust some heads, because it's like, you think he's on your side, but he's not going to be on your side. We're going to show it in film. And I really feel like that's how it's going to be. Travis says something about the the symbolism of Matt sitting in the empty courtroom rather than sitting in the church to reflect.
Yeah.
Yeah, the symbolism is definitely there, especially for the fact when you saw, I think it was in episode 2, Matt was outside the church but wouldn't go in.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was missing that element a little bit because in the Netflix Daredevil, it's always the guilty Catholic conscience that he has. So it's nice to. I immediately saw in the courtroom. I was like, he looks like he's in a church. Oh, because the courtroom right now like is his church. So
I think he
I
just
love all
replaced one for the
symbolism.
other.
Yup. Yeah.
Essentially, because like even when he's talking to Hector and after he outed him, he's like, "You won't even miss it," and I'm like, "Are you trying to convince him, or are you trying to
I
convince
was thinking
yourself?"
the same the whole time he was doing like when he outed him. I was like, Matt, come on, bro. Like that wasn't even. I feel like that was more for him than it was
Mhm.
for Hector. A
Like-
little bit. Like I see it, but like Matt, you're trying to talk yourself into
Yeah.
believing this.
He
That was
truly
the whole-
believed he just truly believed he was doing Hector a favor by doing that. Like now you're forced to not do this anymore. You know you can't go out and do this
Yeah.
anymore. It's like no, this is the same to me as breathing. Like I have to do this. It's a calling.
Yeah.
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 That
I
was
agree.
definitely like the whole case is like him basically convincing himself, like defending himself and vigilantism and being like, this is the good thing and here's why. And look at what they've done. Look at what vigilantes have done for like the community. And it's almost like the whole thing was Matt convincing himself almost and like him twirling around like the devil horn at that, like when he's reflecting is like,
Mhm.
okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, Matt Murdock has like this he has this battle with justice. It's either he's either all in with the justice side of like being a lawyer, or he's all in and being Daredevil and just whooping some butt, you know? So he has that battle that he's always dealing with. And right now I think that, you know, you had Foggy happened to him. That's really hurting him. Hector Ayala, when he finds out, see how that happens. And then, you know, the end of the second episode when he was like, ah!
Yeah.
So I wonder how much more is Hector Ayala's death going to make him move over into being Daredevil and putting the horns back on? Or is he going to try to mask that and say, no, I got to continue being a good lawyer. And this is the only way to do it because people get hurt if I put on the horns. So I really love that.
We're seeing a progression of him from that, even after he gave up the mantle. And you hear Fisk, like you see this. There's this bubbling over, and it's even the point where when he first hears that Fisk has been elected, he's burning the food. Like the food, I think, was a symbolism of his like anger boiling. And then you see him in episode 2. He does that, you know, at the end where it's like, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." And I don't think it was him saying that to them. I think that was him saying it for himself. Because I think he knew what was going to happen if he did this. Like, and then you get him in the courtroom, and I think him exposing Hector was, in a sense, him taking the law into his own hands. He didn't like the outcome by playing by the rules, and so he had fought so hard to make that evidence inadmissible to then turn around. And then you saw that whole point in the courtroom where the judge calls him into the chambers. He's like, "What are you doing?" And it's Matt, unfortunately, having Daredevil bleed into his personal life, and it's only going to get worse until he's allowed that other personality to come out again. And we've seen a lot of superheroes where they think that they can't get over it because it's kind of an addiction. It's an addiction for the thrill of it. It's an addiction for the justice. It's an addiction because of the responsibility. And then I think for people like Daredevil, they have this duplicity about themselves, and the only way that they can balance themselves out is that alter ego. And I always hear a lot of comparisons of Daredevil being kind of like the Batman, I would say the poor man's Batman of the Marvel universe. And it's in a sense he has that dark justice, and I think Bruce Wayne wouldn't be able to function without Batman because really Bruce Wayne is Batman. And I think it's the same for Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
I also think that like no matter what he is putting back on the suit, I think it's going to be a mixture of finding out about Hector and wanting to figure out who did it. And then the mixture of what Fisk said in that interview and how he's going to react to that. Because to Matt, he's going to take that as that was a warning to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I either need to completely step away, or I need to remind people who Fisk is. Like I think at this point, all the masks are going to have to drop. It's not just going to be me. It's going to be both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that, like the diner scene was essentially them letting each person know where they stand, but both are pushing the other person, and eventually you're going to have to meet. No
Oh, yeah.
mask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're both drawing the line in the sand, and it's they're both claiming consequences for the other one crossing the line, but they're both already crossing the line. It's very obvious. We see it also. Let's lead from the Hector Ayala part, and let's go to like Fisk and his wife. Like she's Vanessa is still trying to keep control of the underworld. We have a restitution for a heist gone wrong. And then, of course, we're back in the therapy chair. And before the therapist comes in, we see what's really going on between the two of them. He's trying to have a tight reins about what's going on and hold this appearance of propriety while still allowing. Because if you hear about it, like the idea of letting chaos happen and having those things affect, very much feel like he's still trying to control the underworld. And he thinks this will be good for business down the road. Because I think he wants to manipulate the crime going bad, to his advantage. Whereas Vanessa doesn't want to see the work that she's done for so long, and she thinks that he's punishing her for Adam. And it's a very interesting argument between the two of them.
Especially because he probably already took care of him, given those bloody
Yep.
knuckles
Yep.
that we
He
saw.
did.
Like the man definitely already took care of it. Whether he killed him or not, different.
I mean,
Up to interpretation, but badly beaten.
He could be badly beaten somewhere because they still showed bloody knuckles, and then they cut to Matt having bloody knuckles.
I was thinking the same thing. I was confused. I was like, wait, was I just looking at Fisk, or was I looking at I was confused. I was like, Marvel, I see what you're doing there. Because I Fisk definitely, he's either torturing Adam or he's gone. That's what I think is happening with him.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
because Fisk doesn't play about Vanessa, so.
But it's also when he said, "Let's not start a reason for me not to trust you."
Yeah.
Let's back up real quick. Like, sir, you were incapacitated for a good time. I mean, I cheated.
Oh yeah,
I cheated. It is what it is. Let's accept that. But again, I've done everything I can to keep your business running smoothly. And now because you want to be mayor, it does feel like a punishment to me. Because I did so much work to get your business to where it is while you were out. And even if you want to now play chess with everything on the board and still have control, why is that not something we can share?
That's a good point, because I also feel like at the same time, like he's saying that he doesn't want to distrust Vanessa, but he's not done anything to really build her trust. Like it works both ways in any relationship, whether it's as twisted as the Fisk family. When you think about it, like he's gone. He just leaves. He just goes, completely, non compado at the weirdest moments after he's like recovered from being shot in the face. And then he comes back expecting everything to be hunky-dory. And of course, she's going to think he's going to do terrible things to somebody that she's found solace in when he left her high and dry. And so he's not without fault. But, him trying to blame Vanessa for not being trusted, like, don't make me not trust you. It goes both ways, buddy. You need to chill out. So yeah. It bothered me when he said that, because I'm thinking, dude, you need to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
No,
but it's never been both ways for Fisk.
True. Oh, never.
It's only his way, and his way only is the only one that matters. And him not realizing that they both grown differently. At that, because how many years? Like what, 7-ish?
Well, not just recovering from the gunshot, but like trying to recover from suddenly getting a conscience because of Echo. Like that whole part, he's trying to like get back to how he was, and he can't quite get there.
Okay, that's fair. but also just not real. Like, especially when you're in a marriage, and Tony, you could like, because you have experience with this. I do not, but like if you like, we're just putting it all out there. I don't, but from what I understand, so if you're in a marriage, you can either go together or you grow apart.
Exactly.
And if you don't recognize that, like both levels of growth are different, like one could be up here and one's still down here, you're always not going to be understanding each other until you both get to here.
Yeah, it takes work, and
Yeah.
if you're not putting the work in together, like let's face it, when if you're at the point where you're sitting in a therapist chair, it's probably because there's been a whole line of bad decisions that have led you to that point. And I'm not saying anything against people that go to therapy, because let's face it, mental health is important, and if you can't do it on your own, getting someone to help you is a great thing. But I will say, like, my wife and I, we just today, like, we have this thing where we listen to entitled people stories. Like, it's just like our thing. Like Reddit stories is just like my jam. And so we were listening to some like relationship issues, like, am I the devil? And I'm like, I'm sitting there and I paused the story and I looked at my wife and I said, you know what? Listening to this makes me thankful for how much work we've put into our relationship, because I know we would never get to this point because of how much. I mean, we've gone through a lot, but we're not this. And I look at him like, thank God I'm not Fisk. I don't care what power or money he has or what. Let's face it, the dude needs to eat a steak. He's sitting there eating little carrots and asparagus and stuff, like acting like he's like, I'm doing good. Yeah, you're eating somewhere, buddy, because you're not losing the weight. And don't tell me it's thyroid, but it's like, it's one of those things where I'm just saying, it's just one of those things where it's like, he's putting up so many pretenses. Those pretenses are destroying everything around him, and he'll never see it. And I think that's one of the fatal flaws of Fisk, is it's him more focused on his pretenses and what people see about him than allowing himself to be vulnerable to those that are even close to him that would draw him closer to them. And that's the villain story, I guess.
It's also the same meal every time. I mean, it's only been like twice, but I think it's been the same meal both times. And it's like there's a partnership involved that I don't think he's used to having to let somebody else in and work with him. He's used to like getting his way. So that's the crux of like all of it, is he's just trying to control Vanessa and trying to get her to see that same path. And that's the whole reason for the problem.
Let me ask this question, you guys. Do you all think that Marvel's really trying to make us think that Wilson Fisk is neurospicy? Because I'm getting that from it. I'm just like, no,
Wow.
I mean, think about this.
Like, did I just freeze, or was it in my mind?
Okay, think about this. We go from the first Daredevil series, where he basically, like, the one picture in the art gallery, the one that's the most plainest, the whitest picture, that's there's very little, like, he focuses on that and he sees that, and that's his focus. He eats the same meals, it's the same clothes, they're all of these things. Are they trying to, and listen, I'm talking from a guy who's got isms going on in himself. So it's not like I can't say, that it's, but I really feel like sometimes with Fisk that they're playing that neurospicy, that card with him. And it's like,
listen, as a neurospicy person, no, we're not.
I think he's just showing.
I think he's just a sociopath.
He likes,
yeah, exactly,
and he likes being in control of everything. Like, if it's a white canvas, it's just white. That's it. Like,
and that was based off of like his previous trauma, is like part of the reason he bought it.
Exactly.
I just think
so
he's like you're saying. I think he's like a perfectionist for sure, but let us.
I don't think he's
neurotypical.
No, I think
no.
This is how he deals with his trauma from his childhood, is he wants to control every little bit because he couldn't control his father. So,
as a neurospicy person,
he just needs a therapist.
I'm with Sarah on this. I mean, he needs more than therapy. Like, therapy is not going to be what helps Wilson Fisk. Let's keep it a buck. Therapy, because I feel like all therapy will do is help him more craft his mask to make it seem as if he's making progress. But instead he's just continuously regressing. But it makes him feel better to, but it makes him feel better to like feel like, oh, I'm working on this, I'm working on that, I'm working on that, but also I'm going to do the opposite because this isn't aligned with my ideas of where I should be. Blase. Also, I think like the issue with Fisk and Vanessa
Mhm.
is the fact that he wants her to make compromises. He is never going to be willing to compromise for her.
Exactly.
Like the only
point.
like legit, I think the only way out of her marriage is her death.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like
Like,
that is just
yes.
that's her only
He's
exit. It's not divorce. It's not a separation. It's
Mhm.
gonna be her
Death.
death. Like that's her
Death
end.
Yeah.
only.
He's too controlling for any other option. And he's
Yeah.
never going to let her go, as we learned at the end of season 3. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely not. She's no way out of this situation. She's not going to get her way. Period.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Vanessa's got she's got some behind the scenes things going on, and we really haven't got too much from Vanessa. But I think Vanessa's letting Fisk think he's running stuff, but behind closed doors, she's really a puppet master, and I feel like there's going to be more from Vanessa coming.
I feel like
Hopefully.
a lot of the audience is being led to underestimate her. She
Oh,
was
yeah.
probably my best experience in the Netflix Daredevil series with Wilson Fisk. Like, she was able to break down some barriers with him, and I could see either him going one way or the other. And the fact that she's been running everything since he's been gone, I really want to see her kind of like, I kind of feel like she's going to be part of the takedown of him being mayor. I just feel like that's going to be what it is. And I want to be her. I want to see her be more menacing than we've seen her so far. So I have high hopes for Vanessa Fisk. I'm just saying.
I mean, if she really like personally, I'm like, if she really wanted to take down Fisk, I mean, there are a lot of things I read that you could do to make somebody decline.
She was
I
with him
watched-
the whole. We're
Like-
learning a lot about each other in these things. We're learning feelings
No,
here.
okay, no, but like no, Sarah and Tony Ann understand exactly what I'm talking about when I say what I'm saying. Like what it's like, y'all get it. That's all y'all do. Like
Yeah,
that.
we're going to go
I
back to the
do.
Victorian era and
Yeah.
pull a Victorian woman.
I mean, I'm
We'll
just
listen
saying,
and we don't judge.
there are these like he like if he likes to eat or drink the same thing, it's not hypodermic
It's not hard.
needle,
Right.
bam. And then eventually the decline happens, motor skills, whatever. Now you're power of attorney. What are you gonna do?
Right, yeah.
I just
Some Game of Thrones shit over there. That
the
was
He had
my
an
word.
opportunity to get healing from his
the-
gunshot wound. I'm just saying.
the Simpsons meme of "I am in danger," huh? Just played in my head.
The girls understood. Any girl watching, y'all understood what I'm saying, so we're good. And also,
Yeah.
you always should be very afraid.
Yes. Fear
And
the
that has been our
Here
talk
we
on
end.
episode 3. Thank you so much for coming. No, so let's move on. Like, we had yeah, we're talking about lots of feelings today.
Still Women's
so-
History Month.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
Yep.
thank you.
yeah. So we see the engagement between Fisk and Vanessa. We know that Fisk is watching very closely to Hector's his trial. Interesting thing, he sees things not going the way he wants them to. He gets upset, so he calls in BB again, who we thought had crossed the line before, but she, Ulrich's daughter, is getting a little bit closer and closer to Fisk, and I'm here for it. I'm kind of hoping to see what comes of it. But Fisk and his anger toward vigilantes is coming out a lot more, which brings me to the question. And we have time. We're gonna try to do a hard stop at 11 o'clock because lives and getting sleep is important. But do you think? And let me pull up an image just to kind of. Do you think this was the police or Fisk? Because
Both.
I think David has some opinions about it.
Oh well, yeah.
David's like, I guess.
Guess
I,
so.
If I should start.
I wasn't expecting to be called out, but no.
I pay attention to social media usually. Like I've been sick in bed, so let's go for it.
I did a video the morning after referencing the comic panels of the Punisher talking to a cop and the cop being like, "Oh, we have a fan club of you," and the Punisher going, "What? No, you don't do what I do," and basically threatening to come after them if they continued. But yeah, I don't think that was the Punisher at all. I think that was the police because of their fan club, and I'm hoping that's the introduction of the Punisher, of him finding out about that and coming to kind of clear his name. Which also brings me to, I really hope Will doesn't melt his helmet, because Daredevil did not put on his suit in the third episode. Which is the whole video. The whole video was me basically saying that, and at the very end saying, I really hope we see Daredevil put on the suit in season 4 or episode 4.
So Will is not here, but Will did put a comment in here. Where'd it go? Oh wait, no, it's not that. It was this one here. There you go, Will.
What is going on?
I'm using a laptop, and so things aren't working. Yeah, so he didn't want to melt his helmet. He just got home, so he's not with us. Will, you're still welcome to come. Just don't melt your helmet. That's all you need to do. Yeah, I don't think it was the police. I don't think it was Punisher. I feel like we're gonna find Punisher in like a really like ragged state. And it's only because Matt's gonna go hunting him down, thinking that he was the one that did it, and that's what's gonna revive the Punisher when he realizes what's being done in his stead, in his name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I saw some people online were like, "Oh, it's the Punisher." I was like, "No, it's not. Why would you even utter those words? Like,
fake news."
No. Yeah, like if Marvel wouldn't just give you the character right there and say that's Frank. Also, Google is free. You can Google the Punisher, and no, he would never, ever do that.
Yeah. And to bring up what David said earlier about the skull with the trigger, like that couldn't have been even a better little Easter egg as well. Because even though I was asking in my mind, like, why would the Punisher do that? It really does not make sense for him to want to kill another vigilante.
Yep.
Who literally is just wants to do the right thing, who wants to do some good in this messed up world that we're living in. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, that makes so much sense. It'll be a nice team up between Daredevil and the Punisher to go after Fisk.
Hell yeah.
The cops. Either one.
Me and Sarah like, hell yeah.
Either one. And then I definitely feel like we're gonna see Officer Power one more time, and that's gonna be a wrap for him, which I really hope. Because also, sir, you walked up I'm still on the fact that he's blind, let's beat him down. And then you got your
that was crazy.
And then you walked up on him knowing his butt can't see you in the bathroom to be like, the blind man can fight. Do you want to see some more? See, why are you walking up on me?
Blocking his exit?
Yeah.
And you didn't learn anything.
I was so concerned the last episode, like, oh man, Matt's gonna have to like hide or do something, and I'm like, oh wait, no, who's gonna believe the cop that a blind man beat the crap out of him?
Exactly.
That was perfectly executed.
That cop also has the most irritating face I have seen in a long time. Like those characters, you look at them and you're like, ooh, like, oh, I just want someone to punch you, and Matt did, and I was so thankful.
Like some people have a punchable face. I watch Leverage, and I've never understood that never understood why they said that until like now. Like some people just have a punchable face, and all you want to do is punch them because it feels like that's what they deserve.
I'm gonna say right now, that police officer and that new was it the assistant to Fisk? Like
Tony Soprano's son?
Oh my god.
Yeah, most punchable face right now on Marvel.
I'm just like, when he went in the bathroom and he blocked Matt, I was just like, okay, so we're gonna throw a right hook, left hook. What are we thinking here? Because this man, he needs to be taught a lesson to stay down when you're down.
What did you not learn the other night when Matt literally beat your ass? Like what? Like you have a black guy because of a blind man. A blind man.
He's a cop. Why should this blind man feel like he has more power over me than me who carries a shield and a gun?
Yeah.
Right.
Common
He needs to be taught a
sense, but again,
lesson.
common
A couple more
sense ain't
lessons.
common.
True.
We try to tell them, but they still haven't figured it out.
So I want to go back to the skull, the Punisher symbol, and if you kind of know that, you know, in the comic books, Fisk becomes mayor, and one of the pivotal parts, like a couple of years ago, we had Devil's Reign, where he becomes mayor, and then he brings the Thunderbolts to basically police all of the vigilantes and superheroes because they can't do superhero stuff anymore. Now, if they're kind of doing that a little bit, I'm going to throw this out there. Jason Aaron 2023 had a run where the Punisher was actually manipulated by the Hand, and they promised him that they would bring his wife back from the dead. And he actually runs like this whole crew and like runs for the Hand just so he can get his wife back. And then he does have some minions that like have this new skull. It looks different, doesn't look like the one, but just throwing it out there. It could be, maybe they might throw that in there. Maybe he's bad at first, and then something happens and he realizes that he's not the killer, or he really just needs to leave his wife dead and not bring her back. So just throwing that out there.
I hated the Hand.
Interesting thing about the Thunderbolts. I'm like, how y'all gonna sit up here? Half of y'all should be in jail. Like, I mean,
John Walker
I'm
deserves
happy
prison.
to see you. I'm happy to see some of y'all real quick.
Wait.
Like,
Don't say that
Yelena,
quite yet,
always-
because Thunderbolts.
I'm super. No,
Just
don't
wait a minute.
I am very excited. I cannot wait to see it. But like at the same time, like how
Redemption.
you want to employ? Okay, so I get criminals catching criminals, cool. But technically, vigilantism, if done correctly, ain't no crime being committed besides me stopping a crime. If we're gonna get like real lawyer talk. So if we're talking lawyer talk, I am now helping somebody self-defend themselves. I am not committing a crime. So how can you come get me for providing self-defense for someone else?
Do you know, it's funny. I tried to understand how law enforcement could be so anti-vigilante. And I understand, like, you go back to like movies like The Dark Knight in 2008, I believe it was. And, you know, there was this idea that people were going off and being vigilantes in the guise of Batman. And it's like, you don't have the training, you don't have the money, you don't have all these things. You're only going to be causing more collateral damage or your own death. Then you've got things like, let's say, you know, movies like Kick-Ass and stuff like that just make it really like grandiose and funny and whatnot, and it just is outrageous and unrealistic. But then it was the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movie that I think was the best, because when you had Gwen Stacy's father, what's his name?
I just remember Chief Stacy, but
yeah, okay, so we'll just say Chief Stacy. When he made the comment about how, you know, Spider-Man apprehended somebody who was an informant that was actually going to help them destroy the whole chain. I get where there's like the vigilantes like meddling with law enforcement's plans to try to bring down bigger things, because they can't see. Not everybody's gonna be like Batman that can go back and like, okay, we're gonna follow this thug to the source and get them and bring them down. You have individuals that are stopping micro crimes that are actually part of bigger crimes that ruin entire investigations, and I could see where that would be the problem. But then you see where we're living in a day and time now where you know legal protests are now being considered, you know, illegal and everything else. And it's like, they just don't like people standing up for themselves and protecting themselves, because it stops the status quo. And I think that's where we're more seeing within this show. It's this idea that people need to fall in line and just thank us for doing what we're doing, even if it isn't enough. And when these people get in, when people get involved and they stand up and they say no more, they're the problem, because they're not letting us do what we need to do to keep things moving and let the machine grind. So yeah, there's that.
The machine is faulty.
Part of the issue. Yeah. I mean, I think part of the issue was like addressed at the beginning, and that's when, like, you know, kind of right after, Fisk was like, okay, yeah, no more vigilantes, and then he gained, you know, control. But before that, it was actually the people who were in the crossfire of literally a fight between two vigilantes. So I think it's part of what you're saying, Tony, but I think also part of Fisk's campaign was look at all these people in the crossfire, more people are getting injured than people being helped. And so I think that's like the other side of this, and that I feel like is more leverage than, and then also, then there's also like the protests and like the cops don't have control over that. And it's like all of these things start to unravel when you start to add a lot more elements into it.
No, good point. Yeah, I feel like sometimes TV is becoming a little bit more parallel to reality than it needs to be. And it's fun, and you sit there going, haha, this is great, and then you're like, then you turn the TV off and it's still happening. And it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can dream. We can dream that
news.
people can stand up and do the right thing. And I think that, that's why it's important. I think we see these things, we identify what our ideals are in these heroes and what needs to be done that's right. And then we go outside of that and we support those people who are trying to make a difference. So do your civic duty. No.
Yeah, and Stan Lee has always said, it's like comic books and in Marvel Universe, it should be like a picture window from the outside of your window. It should like
Exactly.
anything that's happening outside of your window should be happening in the Marvel Universe. So, and I love that. He did that. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah. So last thoughts. Any other any predictions about what's going to happen next, or anything that really kind of like we haven't touched on that was really important to you in this episode? Any last thoughts?
I like that
was
Hector.
think- oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You were talking first. My bad.
The whole time, not the whole time. So after Matt revealed the white tiger, in my head, I was like, there's no way that Matt thinks this man is going to live longer than a week after doing this. Like, if he gets free. In my head, I knew something was going to happen to him. I just didn't know when. I didn't know it would be right at the end of the episode. But I was thinking, did Matt really have hope that something wouldn't happen to him? Did he have hope that the people, the police would be like, oh, he was found innocent, we're going to back off now? Can he be for real for a moment? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wondered if he was maybe just completely blinded by the justice system, that this is the catalyst that's going to send him on that tailspin back down the road of putting on the mantle or the horns.
Yeah. I feel like any outcome, Hector Ayala was going to die.
Well, it's like he wore the horns and he saw loved ones die. And then he tries to get rid of the horns and do what he knows best in the courtroom, and it directly causes someone to die. And so there's got to be a question: what are you going to do? Are you going to just give up everything, or are you going to come back in full force? So
yeah, he spent that entire episode basically trying to force Hector into retirement. Go to your island, take your family with you, focus on your family. And Hector, being the polar opposite, was like, no. This is me. This is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was Hector's whole thing when he was saying he just got a studio apartment. That broke my heart. Oh my, he was like, me and my wife. Oh my God. But then I read about the comics and how his niece takes up the mantle. So I'm hoping that maybe by the end of the series, we get a sneak peek of her in the suit.
Well, we saw her in that courtroom smiling, her just the big grin, proud of her uncle. I kind of feel like they're doing that. I will say it's kind of interesting. We've had two superheroes that are based off of cat, amalgamations. We've had Black Panther.
Yeah,
we've had White Tiger.
Post.
Both actors passed away of cancer. And I feel like even though Hector Ayala as a character did not have much time in the MCU, I really feel like they did a good job in the time that we had to really make him a fleshed out character that we appreciated. And I really liked him at this episode, which made that ending hard. And I was playing about with the idea of whether it have, that's why I only have the chest where you see the Punisher's chest. I'm like, no, we're not going to go for that kind of damage today. but it really made more of an impact to see that happen, and something better happened big time because of it. Because it's a character that in the short amount of time that we've had, I've come to, I really enjoy him and appreciate him and want to look more up about him. I think that's where, the character gets to live on, I think, down the road.
Yeah.
So.
They did a really good job with, like, if you're Puerto Rican, like I know Juan probably feels this when he was talking about the island, like we were like, yeah, we know that's our island, like that's the shit. But I think at the end of the episode, people who didn't know much about Puerto Rico, they still felt it. Like they knew the significance of the coqui, and like I think Marvel just did a really good job with showing, in like you said, it's such a short amount of time, a hero that has like such a background that's not recognized a lot in the MCU or in Marvel. Like we never hear about Puerto Rico or Puerto Ricans. We do with Miles, but like this is just a Puerto Rican hero from Puerto Rico, like in the Bronx. Like I loved that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. How much time we got? We got like 8 minutes. So going back to like, I try to keep this short. Going back to like why Matt Murdock won't go to the church is like, if you remember in the first couple seasons on Netflix, like anytime things get really dire, he always goes to that priest to go talk to like level him out. And that's really what really levels him out, is because he always has that battle with his faith. And so that's why he looked, because he doesn't have that priest to go to anymore. So like you said, Tony, he's got to find a police officer that he can work with, and he's got to find a priest that he can work with. And that's what's going to be his balance. And then he's probably just going to put the horns back on. Theorizing just a little bit, I think that just bringing in like Devil's Reign and, Punishers and all that, Luke Cage, which I heard rumors that Michael Courtier, I think that's how you say his name, is going to be coming back. And then in Devil's Reign, at the end, he becomes the mayor and kicks Fisk out. So I would love to see that. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else?
Oh, I was gonna say, one of my favorite parts was, it was heartbreaking, but I loved it. It was the fact that he was talking about how he finally saved enough money for the studio for him and his wife. Like, and I'm just like, because it's so easy. Like, you're excited about something and you're like ready for the next step. And if he would have just kept walking, turned back around, he could have been able to took his wife to the apartment that he got them. But like he said, it's in me. Like doing the right thing is more important. And I think what's interesting when people talk about it within the show, or just in general, if we're talking about human beings, it's always easy to say we're going to do something. It's easy to talk. It's different when you actually have time to put into actions. Because so many people will just see the problem and keep on going. It's not about me. Like essentially, like the people who let that woman burn in that subway.
Yeah.
Instead of taking out your cameras, you telling me you ain't none had no water bottles, nothing. We're just gonna watch. Okay, cool. So it's easy to see a problem and keep on pushing about your life because it's not your problem, versus the person who has to do the right thing because it's the right thing.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are like that, and that's important to know the difference.
I think one of the things that was most impactful with Hector as the White Tiger was we've seen Spider-Man who wants to be a hero, wants to be an Avenger. We've seen Tony Stark who was trying to make amends for all of his bad stuff, all the stuff that his weapons had done. We found, Captain America that, doesn't like bullies and wanted to be a part of the war. And whether there was a little bit of pride involved or not, he went to go do the right thing and he was a good man. Hector just wanted to make sure his community was safe, because no one was going to take time to look at his community. I mean, the moment he said that he went to the bodega and got the flowers, and I'm thinking, or the bodega, I'm like, okay, this guy is in the community. He's of the community. This community knows him. They don't know that he's the White Tiger, but that doesn't matter. He's probably seen these people, walk past these people. He's bought stuff from these people, and they're part of his family because in certain areas, the community is your family. That is that you can't not build the community around you because maybe your family is thousands of miles away, and so he loved his people enough to be able to do that, and then the police just kind of meddle and get involved. I also think that him buying those flowers were also one of the best pieces of information for the jury. Who goes and buys flowers to put in an apartment and then decides to go attack police officers? Nobody does that. That's not that was the most contradictory thing. And I think that was one of the best parts about it, was because he's the white tiger. Heroes can do bad things. We've seen it. Go watch the Marvel movies. But at the same time, normally a guy who goes to buy flowers because he's going to surprise his wife with a studio apartment, a really small studio apartment, is not really one that's going to go pick a fight with police officers just because he goes against everything that they said. Oh, he charged at us and everything else. Didn't say anything about the flowers. What about the flowers? Like, he bought flowers. Let's go there. And I love that those little details. But with that said, we have got to wrap up because we've got lives to live.
Can I say one thing? Because
absolutely.
like a lot of people don't really know like what's really going on in Puerto Rico. A lot of gentrification is happening, and I think like when Hector was saying, the tourists, they think it's annoying, but I think it's beautiful. It's kind of a sense of like Puerto Rico dying and the culture of what's happening. Los Boricuas are like dying out, and people are just going over there and taking the land from them, just like what happened over in Hawaii. It's basically happening right in front of our face. And I don't know if I'm making something out of it, but just want to put that out there that, man, if you know someone in Puerto Rico or you go there, be respectful to the land, to the island. It's not just a place, it is a beautiful place, but have respect for the people that are there and that had been living there forever. So I just wanted to make that point real quick.
Yeah, listen to Bad Bunny's new album. Look at the translation.
So beautiful.
He talks all about it. It is so beautiful. He has a short film about it. Yeah, Puerto Ricans, we are very proud of our island. So I feel you, Juan.
Also, let me just point out, no, you're not making too much out of anything.
No.
So you need validation. You are not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Puerto Rico's, it's not just a vacation spot. There are people that live there, and they don't have gas or food sometimes. So
yeah, and they're being hit with sometimes horrible, hurricanes and everything else. And whether you want to admit or not, they are, part of America, and they should be supported. And we should be seeing people help build them back up, not trying to monopolize or try to, cash in on an opportunity, because this is people's lives. It's not opportunities. It's people's lives. So no, I completely get that. And thank you for saying that. But with that said, we are at 11 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and just wrap up real quick. First of all, before we go ahead, and we're going to go, we'll go the same way just so we don't confuse anybody. Just remember, if you are watching and you have never heard of us or seen of us before, because thank you for everybody who's watching, go to isfanbox.com. You'll find movie reviews and everything else. You'll also see the posts from this show and other shows that we're talking through. Doctor Who, we're talking through this. I hear whispers of possibly a Severance talk. So, that's in the works and more to come about that. And of course, there's other things. I know we had to talk about doing something with Star Wars and everything else. So it's out there. And really, it's a sandbox. It's a soapbox. This is a place for you to talk about the things that you love, the things that are important to you, and to build up the fandom in a positive way. And I'm so thankful for all these positive people. If you enjoy this podcast, you can also hear it in audio form. It's anywhere you get your podcasts. Just look for what is this? Talking Daredevil Born Again. You can look for it on its FanBox. And again, thank you all for being with us. And before we go, Sarah, go ahead and take us in. We're going to go down to Juan, down to Shay, and then over to Tony Ann.
That was needed. I'm at Movies and Tea across all social platforms.
I'm Juan Reads Comics on all social media platforms and Boricua Forever.
I'm a spoonful of Shay across all social media platforms.
I am Xanatos1138 on all socials.
Well, I guess I'll be the different one. I'm Scarlet Bruja on TikTok and the Scarlet Bruja on Instagram, and also Live, Laugh, Love Puerto Rico.
And if you would love to hear a little bit more about them and see what other shows that they've been a part of, go to itsfanbox.com and you go to the team section on the tab, and you'll see all of them listed, and you can see a little bio about them as well as where to find them and what other things that they're tagged in. But with that said, thank you so much for joining us for Daredevil Born Again Talk. We will be back with you next week at 10 o'clock. Well, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific. And with that said, have a wonderful night. Goodbye, guys.